Activision Blizzard is a developer and publisher of video games, one of the biggest of our time, formerly as two separate studios, each of which are known for their successful AAA games. Activision is well known for many games including Call of Duty, Tony Hawk Pro Skater, and Crash Bandicoot franchises. And Blizzard is famous for household names such as World of Warcraft, Diablo, and StarCraft. Recently, the company agreed to an acquisition by Microsoft, making this one of the biggest consolidations in gaming history. Let's dive into how Blizzard and Activision came to be, the highs and lows of their journey to the present, and what the future may hold under Microsoft. Starting with Activision. Activision was founded in 1979 after 4 game developers at Atari did not feel they were treated correctly. At the time, programmers did not get any bonus pay for profitable games or credited publicly for fear of recruitment by rival game companies. In early 1979, it was stated that the 4 produced games, which had accounted for 60% of Atari's sales, which sold 100 million worth of cartridges in the previous year. Breaking this down, Crane was on a $20,000 salary, but noted that he had been fully responsible for games which brought in $20 million for the company. In May 1979, the group met with Atari's CEO Ray Kazar to request that the company treat developers as record labels treated musicians. This included their names on game boxes and royalties. Following this, it was said that Kazar called the group towel designers, claiming anybody can do a cartridge. He clearly did not value the game developers. This led the 4 to start their own business, which was big for the time as third-party developers did not exist, and the games were made exclusively by the makers of the systems themselves. They managed to secure $1 million from Sutter Hill Ventures with the help of Jim Levy, who became CEO of the company. The company was initially called Computer Arts Inc., but later became Activision after the idea to combine active and television. Atari sued Activision in 1980, which went on until 1982. They claimed that they were privy to trade secrets and demanded damages for unfair competition. Luckily, Activision anticipated this may happen and had set aside a legal budget, as well as making sure to engineer new tools to use in the development and anything else that could be constructed as Atari property. This allowed Activision to start fresh and develop the games they want. The court ruled in favour of Activision in 1982, allowing them to go public, opening the platform. Activision knew that more competition would come, so the team worked hard to develop their brand, even whilst the legal proceedings were taking place. This included several things: uniform package design, logo used in-game to reinforce identity, and developers' names were put on the game boxes, which increased loyalty with consumers, as well as turning the developers into a type of brand in themselves. By 1982, Activision had released several games including Chopper Command, River Raid, and Pitfall. With Pitfall selling more than 4 million copies within a year of its launch, making it their first breakout title. Their packaging was very brightly coloured, which grabbed your attention straight away, and they had visually distinct gameplay. In 1983, the video game crash began, which lasted 2 years and caused numerous console manufacturers to go out of business, with thousands of unsold games going to landfills. This was caused by many reasons. Firstly, the amount of different consoles available on the market, each with their own games which lacked cross-console titles, divided customer interest and kept games from standing out, which hurt sales and kept dedicated fan bases from developing. Secondly, many of the games were bad, with many of the games being churned out into the market. One good thing that came from the crash was that it cleared the field. The vast amount of different consoles were reduced, and the console makers were taught to vet their library of titles for quality, clearing the field for a new chapter to evolve. Activision could tell that the level of growth was unsustainable prior to the crash, especially knowing that the system was reaching the end of its life. This was seen when the team attended the Consumer Electronics Show, where they noticed an increase of 30 new companies, of which none were there 6 months previous. Many of these companies failed, and when this happened it flooded the market with very low-priced surplus stock. To put this in perspective, these could sell for as little as $3 or $4 compared to Activision titles at $40. As the only reviews or suggestions for games come from a handful of magazines with questionable integrity at the time, many customers just relied on the boxes within the stores, which therefore led to more people picking up the low-priced games. When the Atari crash was at its worst, Activision had over 300 employees, which was not sustainable. A unique approach to restructuring was undertaken by Jim Levy, whereby he actually hired employees into the new version of the company, as well as laying off those who did not fit into the new structure. Activision managed to weather the crash, unlike its main rival, Imagic, which could not survive the fallout. Crane remembered that in 1979 their first business plan covered a span of 5 years, as they expected home computer soon. They had decided that the company will be 100% focused on computer software by 1984. However, this need came a lot quicker than they had imagined due to the massive boom in new publishers and the subsequent crash. Bruce Davis became the new CEO of Activision after the board of directors decided to replace Jim Levy. And in Activision co-founder Crane's words, it completely ruined the creative environment at the company. Crane said that when he tried to work with him, he realized that he had no creative or marketing skills. He believed that Davis viewed video games as commodities rather than creative products. Bruce Davis asked him to take a reduction in salary with the remainder to be made up through an incentive bonus. Crane wanted this to be put in writing, but Davis would not do this. Following this, he went on to reduce Crane's salary without a compensating bonus. This caused Crane to leave the company. You can only imagine what it was like for the other employees at Activision at the time. The sales were poor over the next 2 years, leading to an exploration into business and productivity software. In 1988, Davis rebranded the company Mediagenic, despite the Activision brand. As they started to produce business software, however, they did continue to release games under the Activision and Infocom brand names. Unfortunately, the introduction of business and productivity software to the company was not enough. Mediagenic in 1991 made a loss of $26.8 million on revenues of only $28.8 million. When the console market rebounded at last, the company no longer had the resources to develop the Atari games. They had to contact Absolute Entertainment in order to develop them, which was the same people who had left the company previously to develop these types of games which had become forbidden. It was quoted that of the 3 companies creating the 2600 games, Absolute at one point was developing them all. By the end of the 80s, Bruce Davis had caused the company to be teetering on bankruptcy. Activision sold 25% share of the company at the beginning of 1991 to the BHK Corporation, whereby Bobby Kotick appointed himself the company's new CEO. He created a fresh start for the company by setting up shop in Santa Monica after shutting down the Silicon Valley office. It was a slow build back up, with Activision's output dropping to almost nothing in 1991 and 1992. They started to recruit new developers in SoCal, and soon after, Pitfall: The Mayan Venture was released in 1994, which was based on David Crane's classic, which had been very successful for Activision when it was released in 1982, selling 4 million copies within a year of its launch. By the end of the 90s, Activision had a strong internal team, but what took them to the next level was their partnerships with independent studios. Activision developed a reputation for high-profile buyouts and annual franchises over the next decade. For example, Neversoft, which developed Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater was released in 1999, which soon became an annual franchise. In November 1999, it was the 3rd highest selling PlayStation title. From release date in September to late December, it had shipped over 350,000 copies. In 2003, Call of Duty was launched, after Activision invested in a new studio, Infinity Ward. They announced it as a series even before the release date, releasing a game nearly every year, with the latest release due in October 2022. Now let's talk about Blizzard. Before Blizzard was known all over the world, the company was originally called Silicon and Synapse, which was founded in 1991 by Alan Adham, Frank Pierce, and Mike Moorheim. Alan, who at the time had just graduated with a computer science degree from UCLA, pitched his idea to found the company to his peers Frank and Mike, both of whom had also just graduated from UCLA studying computer science and electrical engineering respectively. They were on board and the company was created. In order to start the company, each of them put in $10,000, with Mike Moorheim borrowing the money from his grandmother. This was done as an interest-free loan where he had to pay back $100 each month. This would take just over 8 years to pay back at this rate. She didn't play the games he created, but was very supportive. They started by making games which many may still recognize today, including Battle Chess, RPM Racing, The Lost Vikings, and Rock and Roll Racing. In 1994, they changed the name of the company briefly to Chaos Studios, but then settled on Blizzard. That year, Blizzard released Blackthorn, The Death and Return of Superman, and a demo for Warcraft Orcs vs. Humans. At this time, Blizzard was very much for the gamers, rather than the sales figures. The company was comprised and run by gamers who were dedicated to producing great products. This was shown still in later years by Blizzard cancelling a project in 2008 called Warcraft Adventures, where Blizzard realised it was becoming dated even before it was released. Blizzard has released many award-winning games, with many selling millions of copies, such as Warcraft 3, StarCraft, Diablo, and World of Warcraft. In doing so, they made remarkable developments for the gaming world, such as opening up online competition in a strategy game for the first time, as well as features including scouting units, the fog of war, and characters which become annoyed when clicking on them relentlessly. These innovations increased their reputation with the gaming community, and also attracted a new generation of gamers. World of Warcraft propelled Blizzard into the major gaming company it is today, becoming one of the biggest massively multiplayer online role-playing games of our time. The company grew a lot during the release of World of Warcraft in 2004, from under 500 employees prior to release to over 4,600 employees worldwide in 2009. Now, let's talk about change in ownership. In 1996, Blizzard was purchased by Davidson and Associates for $10 million. Following this, it merged and changed hands many times until it was acquired by Vivendi. In 2007, Activision wanted to buy out Vivendi Games and put an offer in worth approximately Activision's net worth. They were mainly interested in Blizzard, believing that the future of gaming was from online gameplay. This tied into World of Warcraft, which was making money each month from approximately 9 million subscribers worldwide, as well as purchases of the game. In 2007, it was reported that Blizzard Entertainment made $1.2 billion for Vivendi. This leads on to Vivendi declining the buyout deal, and instead offered that the two companies merge. Vivendi filed a merger procedure in 2008, which would create the world's largest independent video game publisher. With this merger, a new entity would be formed, Activision Blizzard, as it is known today. They wanted to further extend their presence in the entertainment sector, and by joining together, they would increase future growth potential, which worked towards the goal of leading the worldwide interactive entertainment industry in the years ahead. Activision had a similar opinion. Vivendi contributed $1.7 billion in cash to hold a 52% stake, and would therefore exercise control over Activision Blizzard. The merger was completed in July 2008. Independent development and publishing streams were kept for Activision and Blizzard, allowing them to maintain their distinct corporate identities. This is important as both had a strong brand with different markets and audiences. Let's focus now on some of the negative aspects. In 2007, Cynthia Madvig, a flight attendant, filed a lawsuit against Kotick, the CEO of Activision, and Andrew Gordon, the head of the LA branch of Goldman Sachs & Co. investment bankers. She accused them of sexual harassment, failure to prevent sexual harassment, and wrongful termination, among other things. Cynthia had alleged that Phil Berg, one of the pilots for the private jet the pair co-owned, had tried to pressure her into being his arm candy by accompanying him to outings, dinners, and the like. However, when she declined, he made things difficult for her. This included, for example, him leering at her whilst he made her clean the plane's toilet. She discussed what had been happening with Gordon, who didn't take any action. Following this, Kotick fired her 2 months later when telling her the guys were unhappy with the hostile environment. In April 2008, the case was settled with Cynthia receiving $200,000. In 2008, Harmonix filed a suit against Activision over unpaid royalties of approximately $14.5 million. They later withdrew and settled out of court. In 2009, Kotick once again caused a negative impression. At an Activision Blizzard conference in 2009, he was seen to be insensitive to the current state of the economy, given the global financial crisis, when he said that he would raise prices of the games even further if it was up to him, given that some of these games already required the purchasing of controllers to play, which would have been another expense to those wanting to play. In 2010, another lawsuit was filed against Activision over unpaid royalties. 38 employees at Affinity Ward claimed that Activision owed them over $54 million. They allege that Activision has done this deliberately to keep the staff until Modern Warfare 3 is completed. Activision's response was that it had acted within the law, and it retains the discretion to determine the amount and schedule of the bonus payments. Activision paid $42 million to the group's lawyers in May 2012, although this was not part of a settlement deal. At this point, the group was still planning to pursue the suit against Activision. Unfortunately, I did not find the outcome for this. Although at the same time, two former Infinity Ward co-founders, Jason West and Vince Zampella, also sued Activision in 2010 due to the termination of their employment just prior to when their royalty payments were due. Assessment was made in May 2012, although the amount was kept private. In 2018, after the release of Battle for Azeroth in August, the player community were upset by the non-existent communication from the development team. During the beta, players complained about the new systems. However, Blizzard wasn't seen to take positive adjustments based on the community feedback. This led to an apology by game director Ion Hazikostas. The community was upset further at BlizzCon 2018, where Diablo Immortal, which had been eagerly awaited by players, was announced as a mobile game and not to be released on PC. Some people believe that Blizzard was not interested in what the audience wanted, but rather with chasing trends. In December, Blizzard caused entire teams, commentators, and support staff to be suddenly jobless, after announcing it was killing its Heroes of the Storm esports league just before its 2019 season, with no prior warning, as well as trimming its development team. In January 2019, a former Blizzard employee, Julian Murillo Collier, posted on Twitter about the bullying and discrimination he faced while working on the Hearthstone esports team, with attempts to resolve the issue with HR and management ignored. In February, Activision Blizzard announced it was laying off approximately 8% of its workforce, roughly 800 people. However, this was following a record financial performance in 2018. Though over the following year, the company began rehiring for many of these roles to meet new demands. This, as expected, angered the people affected by the initial job cuts. The ban of Hearthstone Pro over a message regarding Liberate Hong Kong caused outrage. Employees staged a walkout, players boycotted Blizzard's games, sponsors pulled their support for future events, and much more. Before it spilled over into BlizzCon 2019, where hundreds gathered to protest. This led Blizzard to make an apology to reduce the ban to 6 months. To add to this, in January 2020, Warcraft 3 Reforged was launched, but failed to deliver on many of its promises, to which Blizzard had to make another apology. To top it all off, at the end of 2020, Blizzard employees shared a spreadsheet which documented their pay. This found that there were large wage disparities. In July 2021, a workplace discrimination and harassment lawsuit against Activision Blizzard was filed by the California Department of Fair Employment and Housing, following a 2-year investigation. The initial response by Activision Blizzard was a statement that indicated that the report was inaccurate, and either distorted or provided false descriptions of the company's past. Following this, over 2,000 current and former employees signed an open letter criticizing the company's response. The letter also requested 3 things. Firstly, that statements are issued acknowledging the severity of the allegations. Secondly, due to the damaging nature of Frances Townsend's statement, she will resign from her position as executive sponsor of the ABK Employee Women's Network. Thirdly, to ensure there is a safe place for people to speak out and come forward. On July the 28th, employees staged a walkout between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. This rally was attended by more than 350 people. They were supported by the community, in which the companies in the area provided food and portable toilets were donated. Additionally, people online were urging gamers to avoid playing games published by Activision Blizzard. The hashtag #ActiBlizzWalkout was also used in support. The demands made included transparency around employee compensation by gender and ethnicity, adoption of policies that would improve diversity and representation, third-party audit of the company's reporting structure, and the inclusion mandatory arbitration clauses in current and future employees' contracts. These demands were not addressed in CEO Bobby Kotick's email the next day, but did mention hiring a law firm. However, as employees did not have input into this selection, it would be unclear if it would be in their best interest. In August, several companies were reassessing their partnerships with Activision Blizzard's Overwatch League, an esports tournament based on Overwatch hosting national teams from all over the world. The partners included brands such as Coca-Cola, Kellogg, State Farm, and T-Mobile. Many decided to cancel their sponsorship, however some came back later. T-Mobile was the first major partner to pull out or to pause their advertisements, followed by Cheez-It and Pringles owned by Kellogg, IBM, and State Farm. However, in the September broadcast of the Overwatch League, advertisements and sponsorship details for Coca-Cola were once again being included, after being missing from the broadcast for over a month and a half. Xfinity logo was also present, but perhaps in error, as it was not listed on the Overwatch League's list of official partners at the time, which only included Coca-Cola and TeamSpeak. In October 2021, the company announced that they would not be holding BlizzCon in February 2022, stating that their energy should be directed towards supporting their teams and progressing development of their games and experiences. They also want to reimagine what the event could look like in the future. In November, the head of Xbox, Phil Spencer, stated that he was evaluating all aspects of their relationship with Activision Blizzard, and that he was deeply troubled and disturbed by the events. Sony Interactive Entertainment CEO Jim Ryan also spoke out, saying that he was stunned and disheartened by the reports. The president of the American division of Nintendo also found the reports disturbing. In November, it was announced that Diablo 4 and Overwatch 2 would be delayed into 2023. These delays were linked to the changes in leadership on the game development teams, as well as Blizzard losing its executive producer on Overwatch 2, and Diablo 4 losing its lead designer and director. The delays could have also been made worse due to the COVID-19 pandemic, as teams shifted to working from home. In November, a report was released by the Wall Street Journal indicating that CEO Bobby Kotick knew about the sexual misconduct allegations for years, including a case of alleged rape. However, he did not disclose this information to Activision's board of directors. Following this, he was called to be replaced as CEO, indicated by a petition demanding his resignation, which was signed by over 1,000 staff members, as well as a walkout on the day the report was released, which involved over 150 people. The next day, a group of shareholders also sought the resignation of Kotick, sending a letter to the board of directors. Additionally, in November, Activision Blizzard formed a Workplace Responsibility Committee. This was created to oversee the company's progress in implementing new procedures, policies, and commitments to improve workplace culture, as well as the elimination of harassment and discrimination within the workplace. In the time following the lawsuit, more than 20 employees have been fired or pushed out, as well as several resignations. The president of Blizzard Entertainment, J. Allen Brack, who was accused of fostering a frat boy culture, resigned. He was allegedly aware of discrimination, harassment, and retaliation going back as far as 2019, but did not take effective measures. Jesse Mezcuk, Blizzard's CVP of Global HR, also left the company, as well as several others. More than 20 employees have left the company following claims of harassment and discrimination, with over 20 other employees facing disciplinary action. Activision Blizzard would not say if it had fired any of the 20 who had left, but it did state that it was in connection with the various resolved reports. Moreover, Alex Afrasiaby, ex-senior creative director, was terminated by Activision Blizzard following an internal investigation for his misconduct in his treatment of other employees, after being named in the lawsuit. He allegedly would hit on female employees, try to kiss them and put his arms around them, and was known to harass females. According to the court documents, his suite was even nicknamed the Cosby Suite after the alleged rapist Bill Cosby. There is even a photo of a group of employees, including himself, posing with a framed photo of Bill Cosby in a hotel room in 2013. This group had a chat group called the BlizzCon Cosby Crew. Moreover, since the lawsuit was filed, both former and current employees have come forward and shared their stories of abuse. Perpetrators came from a range of job positions, including other employees, leads, and senior management. In one case, a woman whose boyfriend had died weeks earlier was propositioned by an executive because she deserved to have some fun. Another allegation in 2015 stated that women were subjected to inappropriate touching in Blizzard's main office. Additionally, when the breastfeeding room did not have locks, men would come in and stare at the women. There were many other stories of harassment by current and former employees. Additionally, in late September, US Equal Employment Opportunity Commission launched actions against them. However, the case was settled almost immediately for $18 million. This has also led to other people suing, including an employee who announced that she would sue the company at a press conference in December 2021, in which they would ask for a victims' compensation fund, a third-party review of the claims, as well as an apology from the company. Activision Blizzard set up an $18 million compensation fund, although this was said to be far too low. In another case, the family of an employee, Kerri Moynihan, sued the company, blaming her death on sexual harassment, claiming that evidence was hidden about her relationship with her boss, Greg Restituto. Moreover, the company refused to hand over her company-issued laptop to investigators, as well as refusing access to Restituto's cell phone or laptop. Additionally, it was found that her cell phone had been wiped before the investigation. It has been alleged a short time before her death she had been talking to Restituto in the lobby of the hotel during a corporate retreat. Approximately half an hour after he had texted her saying, "Please don't do that, not tonight. Think about it and make a decision when your mind is clear." Following this, it has been alleged that he went to her apartment and cleaned and removed items, as well as having unusual inquiries with other employees who were with her the night before her death. Additionally, It has been said that a photo of her private parts was passed around by her male co-workers at a holiday party prior to her death. Another significant event which has occurred within Activision Blizzard has been the formation of the union, including 19 Raven Software Studio employees. Raven Software Studio is a subsidiary of Activision Blizzard. This was the first union for Activision Blizzard, winning their vote on the 23rd of May 2022. It was a hard battle for those wanting to unionize, with months of organising and Activision Blizzard's attempts to stop the process. This included messages trying to discourage unionisation, distribution of Raven QA employees across multiple teams from their single department, as well as failing to voluntarily recognise the Game Workers Alliance, a movement formed and maintained by Raven QA employees. This triggered the election process. Activision Blizzard then attempted to dilute the majority needed to formally elect a union, by determining that the vote be composed not just of the QA employees trying to unionise, but of all 350 Raven software employees. However, this did not work as the National Labour Relations Board decreed that voting would be composed of the 21 Raven software QA employees, of which 19 votes were for recognising the union. In January 2022, Microsoft announced plans to acquire Activision Blizzard for $68.7 billion at $95 per share. This would make it the third largest gaming company by revenue, following Tencent and Sony. By acquiring Activision Blizzard, it will enable Microsoft to grow its PC, console, mobile, and cloud services. The acquisition has been approved by the board of directors of both companies. The deal is expected to be completed between July 2022 and 2023. In April, shareholders at Activision Blizzard voted to accept the terms of Microsoft's acquisition proposal. Whilst the deal is being completed, both companies will remain independent. Bobby Kotick is still the CEO of Activision Blizzard for now. However, it is likely that Phil Spencer, CEO of Microsoft Gaming, will take over once the deal is done. It is uncertain at this time how much difference there will be when Microsoft takes over Activision Blizzard, though there have been some worries from gamers' perspectives. Firstly, whether the games will now be PC and Xbox exclusive, to which Microsoft has stated that it will honour existing Sony contracts, and that it did not have immediate plans to make Call of Duty exclusive. However, it might not look too promising for the future of PlayStation users, as Starfield and The Elder Scrolls 6 were made Xbox and PC exclusive following Microsoft's buyout of Bethesda. Looking into how the culture might change once Microsoft takes over, it is uncertain whether this will improve, as Microsoft too has had lawsuits in regards to sexual harassment, gender discrimination, and unequal pay over recent years. What do you think will happen if Microsoft takes over Activision Blizzard? Thank you for watching. Please subscribe for more videos.